All right, gang, welcome. Sorry I'm a little bit late here. I was doing a live training in the office for some of our agents. So welcome tonight. This is the Profitable Real Estate Agent Plan. I appreciate you all being here live. Give me 1 second to just get my screen shared so you can see the topics so I can reiterate where we're at. I have to broadcast this on 2 sites, so bear with me while I put it on both. Okay, there we go. You should be seeing the 12-week subject classes. And I want to tell you that these are tactical slash strategic or strategic slash tactical questions and answers that we put this course together based on our overall strategy. And you know what? I should really show you this first. Hang on 1 second. Let me see. I have an infographic that I will show you first. I need to put this in context because I'm realizing more and more my responsibility to you all is to make sure that I show you the model. Okay. So bear with me. I'm going to do my entire screen instead here. You need to see this. Sorry, again, like I say, I have to do this on 2 things here. So you're going to see the model here in a second on YouTube and here. So, okay. Well, he said that, and now I've got all sorts of windows. Hang on. It's hidden. Okay. You should be seeing the TRC model infographic. If you're not, somebody can yell at me, okay? But this right here is the entirety of what I would call an overview of how does the real estate agent business really work. And this comes right out of Michael Gerber's book, which I was just teaching from. So funny enough, a good friend of mine who's an attorney, I had given this book to him in 1995, and he's got this. He was cleaning out the basement where he had his copy kept, and you can tell the pages are all yellow and everything. From 95, I gave him this as a gift. And I am telling you right now that this book is very powerful when it comes to helping you understand as a real estate agent who's trying to be profitable, how a business really works. That book is translated into this infographic here, where you start off understanding that you own a business. You are an independent contractor who owns a business. And yes, you're connected to a brokerage, which is another business. And in our case, our brokerage and our coaching company focuses on a very unique selling proposition that says we will train you in this system. You will go out and use it, come back to us, and we will coach you making adjustments, and you will be assigned a mentor. So in the heat of the moment, when you're freaking out about making a package that you have to get out to somebody or signing a listing agreement, you have somebody that you can call in the heat of the moment. So all of that business vision requires you to believe you can do it as a business person, and to see yourself as a business person, and to see yourself most importantly as a proactive business person who is curious and seeking and searching for the knowledge to run one of these things successfully. However, most people will run right down and say, where's the leads? Where's the leads? In fact, it was made famous in the movie Glengarry Glen Ross when there's just so much ado about leads, which ironically is tonight's call. But I don't even get to it till week 7. That should tell you something about what should precede that. And it is all about planning in a strategic way. So we have just spent several of the past, let me just get back out of this, several of the past weeks talking about strategic marketing. And it's really important to understand that strategic marketing covers a lot of different topics, but the most important of which is a unique selling proposition, right? And what that actually means. So let me just share this again. Sorry, it's clunky here, but. So going now back to our topics, you are going to see, my goodness, Danny. Got to be an easier way. I'll have to work on this. These topics here are the course in the order, and you'll see how we arrive tonight at week 7 where we're talking about lead generation. So I just went back to the first week where we talk about the model. And the model is based on a book that's a national bestseller about small businesses that say you have to have a vision as the entrepreneur for the business that works, which is to be profitable, you have to learn how to get listings from people at or above the median price in the geography within which you want to do business, period. Why? Because the business is predicated on a marketplace called the multiple listing service, and there are listings in there, not buyers. There are listings in there. So of course, if that's the way the business works, we want to cheat your education that way. It doesn't mean that as a byproduct of getting listings, you won't get buyers. Of course you will. But you have to understand the business works this way, and it's just smartest to teach you and smartest for you to learn how to acquire listings at or above the median. Now, of course, a lot of you will be talked out of that saying, well, I'm just going to do rentals in the beginning, or I'm just going to, get buyers because I know a lot of people. Yeah, that's fine. Those are other things you can do for revenue, and you will do. But learning strategically how to acquire those listings is the business model. So then you're going to say, okay, now that I know generally that's how this business works, what's my financial goal? And in the second week, we talked about, hey, if you were going to go out and get a part-time job versus starting a part-time business, learning from me, you'd be at Starbucks, Whole Foods, whatever, $20 an hour, 44 weeks out of 52, right? 15 hours a week, you make about $16,500. Well, I can probably find you that if you're in somewhere there's a low average price, like Kentucky, for example, maybe a couple deals a year. And then if you're in Massachusetts, I can find it in one deal. So we set a financial goal for your business. That's the top line goal. We don't have to get into all the microeconomics first. We just set a North Star. Then once that's set, you have to believe that you can do that. And you have to do that in the context of being a professional business person. But we talk about psycho-cybernetics in that third week, which is a technique, Mind Steering Systems, a book by Maxwell Maltz, that like a professional athlete, you can sit at home and imagine this already working for you because the nervous system doesn't know the difference between mental rehearsal and you actually going out and using this stuff, right? Then on week 4, we finally start to broach strategic marketing planning. And that doesn't start with leads. It starts with core content, where our core content starts with us teaching you how to go make a one-page statistical market update. I've even reduced it down to just that in the beginning, and I'll show it to you, right? This is a one-page statistical market update that answers the question, how's the market? Very simple core piece of content. Then in addition to that, the other obvious pieces of content in this business, what's that? You can't see me? Oh, hold on, you can't see me? Okay, that's a bummer. Okay, so I have to stop sharing. Oh, I thought you could see me in a window. Okay, so what did you think, Grant? So what I said is, you could? Okay, so there's the core content, a one-page market update, cornerstone. Everybody in this group, when we strike June in about 10 days or so, 11 days, I'm going to be all over you to say, do you have one of these, right? Then, of course, the other type of content is the ability to understand, especially for sellers, about pictures and details of properties that sold around there straight from MLS. That's content. And you pay for the access to have that content, right? In MLS. And then, of course, what we teach you, and if you're a Griffin or TRC agent, we teach you the core content of a seller plan, which is evergreen. So your content precedes anything else that you do. See, there's a confusion about what social media is versus what content is. The content is what you put onto social media channels. That's what you put there. You don't just go there and start winging it as if somehow miraculously a seller who owns a property at and above the median price is going to miraculously show up on your Instagram and say, I can't wait to do business with you because I see you bouncing around talking about, chocolate, stores and, your favorite ice cream stores before this core content. So we get heavily into that and we differentiate that, so that you learn how to make core content so that you can develop unique selling proposition marketing, which is taking that information, those 3 pieces, and creating core unique selling proposition information products. See, for example, all that stuff I just showed you, if I hold it up physically, this is what's called an information product, which begins your unique selling proposition. Think about why this is unique. You've taken the time to go out and understand what core content is. You've put it in the right order after curating it out there in the world off of MLS, off of stats, writing down the 7 steps, and you turned it into a product. You productized it. Well, that has value to it. So you create an information product that has weight and value to it, as your time, blood, sweat, tears, printable materials, etc. You could actually put a price tag on this information, but instead, your unique way of doing business, you're going to give it away, expecting nothing in return. And that's what begins this. But so what if that sounds great if you're not giving it to the ideal avatar? And the ideal avatar, as we talked about last week, they have a real reason why they want to sell / or buy. And they have a high motivation to do so at a 9 to 10 or a 1 to 10 scale inside the next 12 months. So all of that precedes tonight's call on leads, all of it. Because if you're not ready and you don't understand all the other stuff that goes with it, you're disconnected from why a strategic and a visioned business, right? Why those things precede the tactical work of getting a lead. So we spent 6 weeks going through that stuff just so you can arrive at really the first very tactical piece of our course, which is seller leads. Okay. Of course, I'll talk about buyer leads too, but the seller leads is what I'm teaching you to get. Now, of course, yes, I have a buyer package too, because I just finished live training and several of my agents are going out for their first time to do live open houses, and they need to know this stuff, but they need to know why it matters. They need to know how it makes them different. They need to know why it doesn't land with some people and it lands with others. That's all the educational piece we keep drilling into you week after week after week, rotation of the course after rotation of the course. It doesn't change. Yes, it gets refined. Some of the details get tweaked because we want it easier and easier and easier for you to understand and the consumer. So we finally arrived tonight at leads. Yes, of course we cover it, but it takes a while to arrive at it, okay? All right, so I am going to, by the way, I wasn't showing my screen, so let me go back to sharing my screen. I'm going to show you that tab so you can see what I was saying, because you arrive at these topics one by one, marching along the way that a business works. So the profitable agent plan, I showed you the infographic already, right? What you don't see necessarily, I did share it on the second week, but if you're a Griffin agent or a TRC affiliated agent, you have a GCI tracker that's a stupid, simple exercise to fill out. So you put the monetary goal, you find out the median and the mean, you plug in a commission rate, and voila, you know what you have to do over the course of 52 weeks. 52. You'd have to fall asleep in the poppy fields with Dorothy for 12 months to not make that successful, to get your financial goal, assuming it's reasonably based on these stats. But the reason it usually fails, you don't create the self-image of yourself as if you are already being successful. But then it got into all this marketing, 3 weeks of marketing. So you're prepared to talk about leads, okay? So that's what we're going to get into here now. Let me show this tab instead. So you should be seeing a slide that said, "Are leads hiding in plain sight?" So like I said, every week I go through this first. It's lecture-y, I know that, but at the end I Q&A, and you can ask me anything at the end of this. It doesn't have to be about this particular subject. It can be about anything in this overall approach, especially if you're confused. You should never leave a call with me confused on a question that you have, okay? Otherwise, shame on you, because I can't make you ask me. All right, are leads hiding in plain sight? And of course, developing an answer to the question, are leads hiding in plain sight, is essential. So we're going to go through this worksheet here to help you understand how to think about leads more properly. So when it comes to finding leads, where should you start looking? Well, listing leads are primary, and buyer leads are a good secondary source of potential customers. I cannot emphasize that order enough. And again, it's because when you go back to the first week, it's the way the business works. We don't inventory buyers, we inventory listings, and then we try to match them with buyers. And when you are a listing agent first, you have a higher likelihood of double ending leads. Double ending listings, meaning not only do you have the listing side, you have the buy side. But if you're running around with a buyer, you're not going to double end anything unless you actually have a listing that you bring one to. See what I mean? So how do we get away from listings first? We don't. So we want you to start looking in your mind, at least for the seller leads. Don't get me wrong. We were training here tonight. Doma has a client that's thinking of, not a client, a friend who's thinking about buying a property. They're first-time home buyers. I said, get in here tomorrow morning and make your unique selling proposition package for them. And then Chris said the same thing. She has somebody who's thinking about selling that she works with the hospital. Like, you can't get in here fast enough to do this. And you know what she said by default? Well, I don't want it. Nope. That's the mindset training. That's exactly what I said don't do. You want to be aggressive in the delivery of information, expecting to get nothing in return, which frees you from any thoughts of being overly aggressive with a listing or a buyer lead, okay? So where are some examples of listing leads? Well, the best listing leads hiding in plain sight include expireds, probates, FSBOs, and referral listings from professionals. So let me get into this. What's stunning to me is how long it took me to embrace everything I'm teaching you tonight. I can't tell you how many times I drove by a listing and I'll tell you the last one I tolerated was in my own neighborhood. Driving by a listing, seeing the sign up there for many, many months and seeing it expire, only to see somebody else's sign go up. I don't know how many times I told myself the wrong story. Oh, that's ambulance chasing or whatever. I told myself so many ridiculous stories about expired listings until one day I watched a $2 million sign come down and somebody else listed it and sold it. I said, never again, because it was right down the street from my house. Never again is this going to happen. And I came into the office and I started to think about how do I approach that expired. But expireds, they ebb and they flow based on the economy, based on the ebb and flow of real estate in general. Meaning when the market's hot, there's not a lot of expireds. When the market's soft, there's too many of them. So it's always ebbing and flowing. So I needed something to balance out my business approach. So I next went to probates where death is a constant. People die all the time without a will dictating to where or to whom the property is left. So it has to go through a process called probate, where all of the potential heirs are potentially notified, an administrator is assigned, a license to sell is given, and then the property can be disposed of. So that's a consistent pile where there is real opportunity for listings. Then also hiding in very much plain sight is the for sale by owner. You can go right online and look up any for sale by owner site, and you can find stuff in your own neck of the woods that's being offered by an owner. So that's hiding in plain sight. Now, referral listings are a little bit different. They're not necessarily hiding in plain sight because it definitely, well, they all take proactivity. You can't, none of these fish are jumping in the boat and frying themselves up. So referral listings from, in fact, I have it right next to me. I have a couple of probate attorneys that I have some packages because I was doing a closing with them. I said, hey, Phil, you and your brother's names are all over a lot of these probates. And I want you to know we send these packages out to these probates. I'd love to come and sit with you and brother. He's like, absolutely. So that's a potential referral listing source for the very same probates or other state planning things that they do. So those referral listings are hiding in plain sight. And again, the coolest thing is I've already taught you in this course how to make these packages that are underlying information for any type of seller, right? Next week, when I get into scripting, you'll see how all we're changing is the context to talk properly to the expired, to talk properly to the probate, to talk properly to the for sale by owner. That's scripting that recognizes those different contexts. But then underlyingly, we have the same offer for the seller. Pictures and details of properties that sold around there straight from MLS. A one-page statistical market update to show them the exact direction of current market pricing. And as a bonus, wink, wink, the plan that we customize for our clients, our 7 steps. So it's always the same underlying base information. Why? Because when you go out to a listing presentation, that is the core content. Here we go again with core content. That is the core content that you're going to give to a listing. Now, let's get into buyer leads next, but the point is that's always going to be the same in a systematic approach. And by the way, it is what any smart realtor is bringing with them when they go try to list a property. Pictures and details of properties that sold. Unfortunately, too many of us have learned that those are comparables. Well, they're not comparables until you go in the house and compare them professionally to what's there. And there's math involved. I could go on and on. They're just pictures and details of properties that sold. It's information. There is no comparable property until you go in and do the comparison, period. So stop calling the initial information comparables. Here's the comps and all the goofy things that we think we can say to somebody who doesn't even understand what we're saying, because we don't even understand what we're saying. It's pictures and details of properties that sold straight from MLS with pictures, details, maps, etc. That's it. Until I come into your house and look at the condition, the location, all of that stuff that matters to value, I can't look at what's sold around you, pictures and details, and say, oh, this was really in good condition. Oh, they had a new roof. They had a new, a kitchen. I can't do that until I'm comparing by being in your home, which eventually becomes the upsell. So we start with the information of the unique selling proposition, then we upsell it. But we're going to try to get the information to all these seller leads hiding in plain sight. Now, if you're like I used to be, you get intimidated by this stuff. But I don't know what to say to an expired next week. You show up next week, you'll know exactly what to say to an expired. But you already have what you'll be offering. So in this course, you already have what you're offering. And if you're not doing this and you've been hanging around here, and if you're a Griffin agent, taser immediately. If you are winging it in an open house, if you're winging it at a listing presentation, shame on you. Because the unique selling proposition I have as a leader of this group is to teach you to do what I do as a professional listing agent, period. This is what I do. So that's the lane you want to stay in. You don't need to try to beat me and outsmart me. I've been doing it for 25 years, 20 coaching, and I obsess every week over the details. Just copy me, right? That's all you have to do. So where are some of the examples of good buyer leads? The best buyer leads hiding in plain sight include open houses. Yes, still there are some on the internet. And the same thing with referral leads, which could come from the same professionals. But I love my open houses. There is no faster path to getting in the face of real motivated buyers than sitting in an open house that's priced well enough to attract real buyers. And then running a funnel where you capture them. Here's a whole bunch of funnels. Look at how thick this is, right? Because I do 5 of these things in a weekend. These are lead funnels for open house buyers. And you can see on this first page, 2 of those people out of 5 that signed in gave me a telephone number and put down no email. The next one, no telephone number on the first one, but one on the second one, no realtor. An email on the next one, no realtor. A realtor and a realtor. See what I'm saying? So when people tell me, oh, everybody's got a realtor. No, they don't. No, they don't. And those are just a few sheets of somebody coming in, right? So that's a real live internet, I'm in an open house lead opt-in. I'm showing you the evidence. Thank you so much for coming to the open house. The sellers asked that everybody sign in. When you're done signing in, feel free to take a brochure, and inside of that's an MLS sheet. That's the exchange of value. You can see this house and even have a pretty brochure, which looks like a calendar, and an MLS sheet, and then go see the house. But you have to opt in, right? Those are hiding in plain sight every week. I try to scream at the top of my lungs or the top of my soapbox, whatever you prefer to think I'm standing on, that is the easiest place to find these seller and buyer leads every week. How do I know? Because it's what we do, right? So how can you find listing leads? Well, the best listing leads can be found by, ready, here we go with the obvious, searching the what? The multiple listing service and FSBO sites. or by asking for referrals from not just professionals, but past clients too, if you have them, right? Or sphere of influence. Now, you got to be very careful not to wear out your sphere of influence. Everybody goes to that first. I don't agree. You don't wear out your sphere of influence, which means your friends, your family, and everybody. I know everybody teaches that. You go to a brokerage, and the first thing you're going to do is let everybody know you're a realtor. Sure, I think that's a good idea. But you're going to let everybody know that if they know anybody about thinking of selling or buying, you have a unique selling proposition, information product filled with information that will empower them to make a good decision, whether they use you or not. That's how you deal with the sphere of influence. And every month you're on social, you're on your emails, you're wherever. Hey, it's me with the market update. See, it just becomes very logical. But what I've been teaching some of my clients that can't quite get to the point where they have their own telemarketers like me, I said, you are going to pick out of the MLS what you pay for, one property a week, 44 times out of 52 weeks. One. You are going to make a package of information for that person, right? You're going to make a package of information for that person with pictures and details of properties that sold around them, a copy of your one-page market update, and the seller plan. You're going to drive by that property looking for the lights to be on or the car to be in the driveway. You're going to door knock them, and you're going to say the script to them. Chris, I'm Danny Griffin from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I stopped by is because I saw your beautiful house online, and I noticed it didn't sell. So I wanted to give you this information that will help you sell it the next time. May I do that? Now, I'm going to get a clean yes or a clean no, period, right? So if I get a clean no, okay, I'll take you off the list, no problem. Nice to meet you, though. If you ever have any need, my office is at 10 Weano. Or, sure, I'll take it. Wonderful. Hey, Chris, I took the time to customize this information. It includes pictures and details of properties that sold around your house, straight from MLS, just like I see. It has a one-page statistical market update that shows the exact direction of current market pricing. And I threw in, wink, 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 I threw in a copy of the 7-step plan that I customize for my clients. Here, take it. By the way, while I'm here, why were you thinking about selling it? It looks like a beautiful house. Yeah, I'm downsizing or whatever. I'm moving out of the country. And, wow, interesting. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated would you say you are to sell it? Well, I'm a 10. Well, Chris, what I could do, why don't you take this information, take a look at it. But I'm going to go back to my office and I'm going to do an analysis of these properties that I gave you to include a net sheet to show you what I think you'd walk away with. And I'll bring it back. And if I could take a quick look at the house at that point, I can give you tips on what to do and what not to do, not just to get it sold, but to get top dollar. May we set that up? So again, it's all the logical things a listing agent would do. And we're just offering it logically because we went into the multiple listing service. We picked one expired a week, and I either got a clean no or I got a yes. And if the yes has a real why and a motivation to do so soon, I'll make the upsell offer. If it's not soon, then I'll say, listen, when you're closer to ready, I could come back, give you tips on what to do and what not to do to get top dollar, and I'll analyze what says sold around you at that point to include a net sheet. When do you think that might be appropriate? So I don't have to force myself into the listing lead that doesn't have context. I just need to make the offer, and hopefully it lands with somebody whose plans haven't changed or doesn't have a realtor. But then I have to time frame it before I can upsell them to me. And then I really will make an analysis and a net sheet offer to that person when it's appropriate, not when I want it to be. Otherwise, it's not going to land. And now I've gone away from being a giver to a taker because all I care about is getting into your house, getting into your house, getting into your house. And I'm not even listening to whether that offer is going to land because you're there, right? So those leads are hiding in MLS and you pay for it. You don't need Vulcan 7. You don't need, the Red X. You just need to go in and pick one a week because you don't have the capacity to keep disciplined, I'll guarantee you, to keep disciplined to do what I do with multiple telemarketers. You don't. But if you picked one a week and you followed up with it 5 days a week, either getting a telephone number off the internet or door knocking, and by the 5th week, You don't get anybody with this system. If you're a Griffin or a TRC member, you have access to a cover letter for FSBOs, expireds, and probates, and whatever other thing. You can drop it off and continue to try to drive by and do it, but you're on the next week to the next one. 44 times a year, guaranteed listings. It's impossible. It's just a numbers game because there are people out there that are dying for you to show up. Okay, so let's get into the buyer stuff. So by hosting open houses or generating internet leads, I still coach a lot of people who do generate these. There's a big caveat to them though, because internet buyer leads are way more difficult to figure out if it's just a whimsical internet inquiry or even a lead at all versus an open house person walks right through the door and you have all the scripting that you would ever need in a regular conversation. Thank you so much for coming. Sellers asked that everybody sign in. If you don't mind doing so, I would appreciate that. You take a little look down. You notice there's no realtor. Okay, so this might be a possibility for me. You don't jump all of them and go, hey, can I represent you? You just look down and you're like, okay, take a brochure. By the way, this house was built in 2000. It's really a fortress. There's 7,000 square feet, 7 bedrooms. Yes, I know it's a lot of house, but the best way you could go through it is to go through this master wing. All of this master living, the first floor is you'd give up nothing. Up there, 3 suites. Over here, a little extra living. Go ahead, take a look. Hey, by the way, while you guys are looking, why are we thinking about buying a house? When it's appropriate. Afterwards, right? Because I noticed you didn't sign in with the realtor. So I took the time to put together a package of information. I just keep going back to the week about unique selling propositions in this course. So I'm applying it here so you know what I'm doing. I took the time to print out some pictures and details of properties that sold in this price range because you as a buyer should know what the money's buying because a lot of inventory that's going to go expired at the wrong price. And to make your life easier, I've got some additional properties that are for sale in this price range so you can look at the pictures and details easier than your phone. I also gave you a market update. You can see we really have a high-end, average sale price and median sale price, but the inventory swelling to over 6.5 months. Lots more choices, lots more negotiation. And as a bonus, I've got a copy of my buyer plan that I customized for my buyers. Here, take this. It'll make your life a lot easier. Now they're like, holy crap, thank you so much, right? Nobody even thought to do that for me except you. By the way, let me make sure that I have a good email address and a good telephone number for you. I want to make sure I can read this. Does this say 842-4227? No, it says 4728. Okay, great. Because what I can do is assuming that you might like some other areas or you might like to broaden or narrow the price range, I can on Monday email you some more updates. So now all I did was have a conversation that was facilitated by a simple system to have them sign in to make sure I'm not tripping over somebody else's client, make the information product free offer, see how they react, refine what their follow-up information is, and make a further offer of service for free. It's just not rocket science. And they walk through the door every weekend. Every weekend they walk through the door. Yeah, sure, there's some weekends I go out trying to find these open house buyers hiding in plain sight. Right? Or I'll get a telephone call. I did 5 open houses this past weekend, basically got skunked. And just because I'm out in the field, I got a phone call. Said, geez, we just missed your open house. We really want to see it. They're coming back Friday to see the property with me and are talking about a cash offer. So again, they are hiding in plain sight, but where are they coming from? Let me put this back in order. When I get my listings, because I focus first on those expireds, those probates, those FSBOs, and I make the offer to them and I follow up with them, I get the listing, and then I can make a market for more buyers and probably some nosy sellers. By the way, I sold a listing this year for 1.39 because they came to my $2.5 million listing. So I have listings off of my listings too, but most of the time it's a buyer, but I get them both because I led with the listing, which is my marketplace. That's my marketplace or my agents. We can sit in there and that's our marketplace where real people with real needs are coming, not the internet pile of crap that we would have to filter through just to find a couple. Don't get me wrong. I teach and coach people how to find that too, but you got to find this stuff, right? This is hiding in plain sight. Okay. So, pro tips, obviously, set up an open house system to secure both seller and buyer prospects. They're just prospects. You're taking them from a lead to a prospect. No realtor, real reason why, high motivation to do something soon, and they accepted your information product. All those things qualify as a prospect. If any of those is missing, it's not a prospect on my watch, right? Then for the referral stuff, if you really want to find some leads in your sphere of influence, with your past clients, especially, set up a systematic yearly gift program to solicit repeat and referred business. And the gifts for professional referrals are information too. If you go meet with especially attorneys who deal in probates or estates and you show them seller and buyer packages and you say, I'm happy to make one of these for free for any of your clients anytime, whether they do business with me or not, that is a gift of information to an attorney to empower them to show them that you would be a really good affiliate. Okay. All right. That's it for this week. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to get into any kind of Q&A that you have here. So I will take any comments. GVD, my partner, Paul, my partner, if any of you want to make some comments. And then other than that, we can answer some questions here. No? No comments? Yeah. Talk about your migration from buy side stuff. You and I have been around this a long time. For your buy side stuff to this. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's stunning how quickly it works too. If you just execute consistently, but it is, the self-discipline in executing something. It's just funny how quickly the animal brain will shut you off from doing even one pursuit a week of that expired or that FISBO, right? Or that open house. I mean, go ahead. I cut you off. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because it's our perception and misperception that somehow the higher end stuff is harder to do, but especially with all the mastermind, one on one coaching members I have, all top producers, it's staggering how many people talk themselves out of at least median, if not average and above. And then when you get there, you're like, oh my gosh, this intellectual academic approach really lands with them even easier and even better. And they appreciate it. Why wouldn't I do more like this? And it's a contagion, I would say, right? Yeah, good. Good. Awesome. Questions from anybody else? Shauna, comment? Oh, you just showed up there. All of a sudden, it was like, voila, you just showed up. No, 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 I saw you there, but all of a sudden your picture just popped up. So, yeah. How about the rest of you? Otherwise, you're going to let me off easy. Andre, come on. You usually got a good one for me. Sham, my man out there doing it, doing it. Danielle just had live training 101. Hey, Andre. Good, pal. Yes. Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's in this course, one of the things that's really important, you talk about, I'll try to show my screen again here. It's Let me just go to the curriculum for a second because I think that's most important here. If you look at the order, and this time around, I have taken the time. It's been a little bit more clunky in this go round of the profitable agent plan because what I realize is I didn't quite have it exactly in order of that infographic. But if you look at this, and I could put mindset first, but I wanted to explain the business vision stuff and then get into the strategic leadership stuff. But to bulletproof the mindset, is probably the most, and this is Paul Cantu and I have, an affinity for this subject here. It's one of our, the one we're most attached to, is that psychocybernetics means mind steering systems. And it's incredible what you can program the subconscious to do, because the irony is, according to Maltz, who was a doctor, the nervous system doesn't know the difference between mental rehearsal and actuality. And you see that practiced, especially with high-end athletes. But you can practice this, to say, can I really ever imagine myself walking up to an expired door, repeating this systematic scripting and just making an offer? And if I have to start at an extreme level, even if I'm scared, just say, listen, all I want to do is give you some information today that'll help you sell it. And if you ran off the porch right after that, here, take it. That would be a first step, right? That would be a first step to seeing yourself doing anything versus doing nothing. And I think that's what's important to really understand. It's usually the sticking point because we don't know how that works, right? Oh, Grant, hey, guys, can oh, sorry, Sean, I had to mute you. So, Andre, that's, I think that's the most important thing, is to really understand that is, it's the mindset. And it's the programming of the mindset. It's not just, this is not some rah rah that Danny gets on with you and says, come on, Andre, you can do it. That's not it at all. It's creating a self image, the way that you see yourself. And you have to begin to see yourself as capable of doing this and actually doing it in your mind before it ever happens. But you're right. It's scary how I talked to my daughter about this, who's an actress writer, and I just sent her a book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. And in that book, he talks about, the inability to release the creative, and he personifies what you're talking about. He calls it the resistance. And the resistance starts relatively harmlessly with the concept of the animal brain that just wants to set it at the comfort zone and do the bare minimum. But I'll take it to the next level of nefarious, devilish even, that there is a force out there against you that doesn't want you to thrive. It doesn't want this to work for you. It's going to shut you down, say, it's too complicated. You can wing it and make it. And it really wants to steal the opportunity from you. So it is very, very, it's a war. It really is a war. It's a war of you unleashing this business persona. It's a war. And that's why I give you strategies to win the war. And not the least of which is Psycho-Cybernetics as a body of work that you should listen to or read and continuously understand. It's a tactical thing to program the subconscious to use this plan, right? That makes sense? Perfect. Perfect. Hey, listen, I'm good with people doubting me. I'm good with people believing that it just works for Danny. But that's why I come in here with anecdotes. That's why Grant speaks up. Paul the same. And Paul and I and Grant all used to do lower end, houses. And now it's regular. We talk about something that's certainly median and above. But then it goes beyond. I mean, Annabelle has always been one of the best examples in here that I use because she's only 23 years old. So people then start, well, you guys are all older. And nope, it works for somebody who's younger. And I said, leads hiding in plain sight. Well, Annabelle went out, called a for sale by owner who happened to be an attorney. She gave him the information. He was so impressed, he hired her. He's an attorney. That's no easy FISBO to turn over. And now she's out there executing the marketing plan. This weekend, she'll be doing the open house plan and she'll be running it, but she's 23. And she's not a sales background. She was in school when she started apprenticing for me and Laura at about 18 years old. And she just kept listening to the stuff until she believed that she could do it. And whatever that little determination in her that she wasn't going to be denied, in spite of the fact that you'd never pick her out of a lineup as a natural salesperson, she's been wildly successful already. Right. So it does require you to just you need to go to war with those forces, right? You need to go to war with them. That's how you overcome them, right? Yeah, likewise. As always, I always love your questions and your engagement is good. Ben, Amy, Danielle was just with me, so we won't wore her out. Lila, Deirdre, any questions for me tonight? Jason, Sham? Okay, good. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, go ahead, Deirdre. Of course we do. Yeah. Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Here's your coaching. Why in the world would they ever get your business card if they didn't have an agent and you have buyer packages there? Okay, 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 good. Okay, hold on, hold on. Everybody leaves. That's what an open house is. They come and they go. Sometimes, okay, sometimes I don't, but I have their information. You better make sure. You better make sure when you give them a package, you can read their information. And so what you're just simply missing is another offer to follow up. Hey, by the way, and by the way, I don't know, do you just give the package or do you explain what's in it? Okay, good. So say, oh, good. So say, in the case that this is not all the information that's important to you, meaning, do you want some other towns? Right. But you know each individual, whether it is or isn't. And if not, that's a coachable moment. Say, listen, what was in here was just stuff that was for sale or sold around this. Would you like any other criteria? Because I'd be happy to send you solds and for sale straight from MLS, but let me just make sure I can read this. There's your follow up. Don't make it a big deal because you're doing a good job. And by the way, you got to be able to read this. Don't give package like candy, right? Make sure. Well, insisting is something different. Like, give me the criteria. Why do you give people a package? You give me think back to one of them, Deirdre, and see it in your eyes and tell me what happened. Why did you decide to give a package to that person? Because I do not give a package to every buyer that doesn't have an agent. Yep. And you did what? And you did what? What'd you offer? Okay, don't use that word. Don't use that word ever again. Comparables. There's nothing comparable until your insight is added. Here I just simplify it. There are pictures and details of properties that sold in this price range. So you as a buyer see what the money is buying. Why would I say it like that? Because I'm acting as if I am your intelligent buyer agent already. So I'm telling you, you should see what the money's buying, not just what they're asking. So that's in here. To make your life easier, I've also printed out some that are for sale. However, I don't know if this is the only area and only price range that you're interested in. What areas are you interested in? What price range are you interested in? Because let me look at this sheet and make sure I can read your information. And do I have a good phone number? Do I have a good email? Because I will send you more information that's more customized to your search. So you're close. It's horseshoes and grenades. You're super close. Like you're really close. So you're not far off. And it's not a big thing. And it's not a happy path for me. I've had 5 or 6 weeks where I have gotten skunked at a lot of these things. But I don't need that many to be a happy camper. I don't. So I'm going to, yes, I provide more pictures and details of properties that are pertinent to her. Yeah. Or text her. Well, but again, I'm answering your question on email. You ready? Here's the answer. I'm going to send her stuff that she said she wanted that wasn't in the package. Okay. Okay. So now slow your brain down and say, I got 2 decision makers. Okay. Am I sending it to both of you ladies? Get more in control of getting the information you need. Slow your brain down in that house because you're thinking too many things. Slow your brain down. Well, that's okay. It's normal. It's normal. And you're hyped. You're here's the avatar. They're in front of you, but you've got to give to magnetically attract them. And it's not going to be just the package. It's going to be afterwards. What else can you give when they're gone? Right? You got to be patient with the follow up because they don't all respond quickly. Right? And just keep sending it to them, and say, hey, and then you could shoot a text. Hey, I've been emailing you some stuff. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? Go, go, go. You're so close, though. Just stay patient in there. Slow that brain down. Get all the information good here, and then follow up. You're so close. You're a no miss in this business. I'm telling you, you're so close. You are. You're so close. But you're not patient like me. Go teach. See ya. You're welcome. Likewise. Okay, what else? By the way, Deirdre's a teacher herself, so it's nice to have a teacher. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to call it because I realize it's only 3 minutes out. Appreciate everybody being here live, and we'll see you next week. But good job here today. Good subject too. All right, Shauna, tomorrow, another day for us. See you guys later. Yep, go ahead. Hi.
Hey, and I want to put you on blast in front of the group for you say any questions. Our website's still not working now.
Yeah, because they have to propagate like a massive amount of info. Send me an email and